Alrighty, welcome back. We are in Matthew chapter 28, but we've temporarily jumped over to Luke chapter 24 to read a story that Matthew didn't record about one of Christ's many appearances after his resurrection. And may I submit to you, nobody knows exactly how many times Jesus made appearances, but Luke, the guy we're about to read, said in the book of Acts, which he also authored, that Jesus appeared to his followers, his disciples, many times over a period of 40 days. Some of those appearances were near Jerusalem, some were in Galilee. It seems like when he ascended, to heaven, his final appearance, that he was, I guess he was in Galilee, according to one of the gospel writers, and he appeared more than to just Mary and to the other woman at the tomb that morning. He appeared to Simon Peter sometime in the afternoon. He appeared to these two guys we're reading about right now on the road to Emmaus. Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians, and this is not found anywhere else in Scripture, that one time Jesus appeared to more than 500 people at once. Okay, so this is a well-established historical fact. It wasn't that Jesus just appeared, for example, to one person, and all of our faith is based upon the testimony of what one person supposedly witnessed. Oh my goodness, no. When Paul wrote that to the Corinthians, he said most of those 500 people whom Jesus appeared to at one time are still alive when he wrote that. And so that was, I think, a decade or so later after the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Right? So well-established fact of history. Okay, so now let's go back into Luke chapter 24. Jesus has just appeared to these disciples about 7 miles away from Jerusalem, heading towards Emmaus. They are very sad by the fact that this great prophet has been crucified. Jesus is disguised somehow from, supernaturally. They just don't know who he is. And he pretends like he doesn't know what's happened in Jerusalem, and he asks them to explain it to him. So we begin in verse number 19 of Luke chapter 24. And Jesus, said to them, "What things?" And they said to him, "The things about Jesus of the Nazarene, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word in the sight of God and all the people." How could you have not heard about this? Well, it's interesting. These guys are still saying that he's a prophet. Whoever they are, they're not named at this point. There was one of them named Cleopas, didn't know that Jesus was the divine Son of God yet. And they go on in verse number 20. "And how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to the sentence of death and crucified him. But we were hoping that it was he who was going to redeem Israel. Indeed, besides all of this, it is the third day since these things happened. But also some women among us amazed us when they were at the tomb early in the morning and did not find his body. They came, saying that they had also seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive." So, these guys apparently were in Jerusalem. They were traveling to Emmaus, and so they had heard these reports from the women who had the vision of the angels. And going on, verse number 24, "Some of those who were with us went to the tomb." Now, we've read about this, haven't we? Peter and John, at least, went to the tomb. I can't imagine that all the 11 didn't sooner or later run to the tomb. I mean, come on. I mean, that would be your natural inclination when you hear these stories. You'd want to go and see it for yourself. It wasn't that far away. "Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just exactly as the women also had said, but him they did not see." Well, Jesus still pretending not to, have heard about these things, at least reveals the fact that these are things that should be anticipated by those who know the Scripture. Okay? "And he said to them, 'O foolish men and slow of heart to believe in all that the prophets have spoken. Was it not necessary for the Christ?'" They said, "We were hoping this is the one who was going to redeem Israel." So, they were looking to him, hoping for him to be the Messiah. "Was it not necessary for the Christ to suffer these things and to enter into his glory?" Now listen to this. "Then beginning with Moses," so that would be, the Pentateuch, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, "and with all the prophets." So he goes into apparently all the prophets. Okay, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, and then all the minor prophets as well. He explained to them the things concerning himself in all of the scriptures. And so how long did that Bible study take? Jesus could not have done that in just 10 minutes. He would have had to, if he made reference to everything that was found about him, oh my goodness, in the Old Testament, if he did an exhaustive study, it could have taken hours. And I'm sure that as they, heard these words and seeing in the scripture from this person whom they don't know who he is yet, explaining to them about how Christ would have to suffer, the suffering. No doubt he went into Psalm 22 and said, look at the Psalm 22. My God, thou hast forsaken me, it says in the first verse. Does that ring a bell? For my clothing they have cast lots. They have pierced my hands and my feet. I can count all my bones. And so, these types of things that indicated that Christ would suffer. Isaiah chapter 53, he would have gone through, no doubt, the entire chapter that talked about he was bruised for our iniquities. He was wounded for our transgressions. Okay? And so as they heard this was the most enlightening Bible study of their lives, taught by God himself. Oh, how I wish I could have been at that Bible study. Verse number 28. And as they approached the village where they were going, and he acted as though and they approached the village where they were going, and he acted as though he were going further. All right, and so again, Jesus is once again pretending. He's not intentionally trying to deceive them, to harm them. Okay, he's just pretending, and that's when it really gets interesting, because he agrees to stay with them, and they're going to get the shockaroo of their lives. I'll see you next time.
HeavenWord 7 is made possible by the financial support of viewers like you. Thank you.